You are listening to The Professional Artist. I am Echo Chernik, and we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Simulcast on YouTube and Facebook. Please like, follow, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Today I have Bob Eggleton and April Solomon with me today. And with our changing and always updating world of art, I'd like to discuss the business of illustration with Bob, who's been in the business for a very long time, and with April, who's right at the very forefront of the business and really, out there doing all the good stuff. Not that Bob isn't. Bob is up to his neck in projects right now, and really get a good viewpoint on all the things we need to know as working artists, so that we can keep on top of all of everything everybody needs to know about really, being the best artists we can all be. So, Bob, April, how you guys doing?
Good, great.
Doing really good, thank you. Happy to be here.
April, you're down at a show right now.
I am down at the Sawdust Festival right now. My booth is back there somewhere behind me. There's about over 200 artists, and we're here all summer long in Laguna Beach until September 1st. And so I'm happy to step aside and be a part of this today. So thank you for asking me to join.
And Bob, you have a show next week.
Yeah, I'm going to be at Shore Leave in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's a Star Trek convention, and I actually have done Star Trek art in my past, and so it's going to be kind of, I'll have some prints and I'll have some other things and drawings and stuff like that. It's a lower attended convention rather than these massive 10, 20, 30,000. I just got back from G-Fest, which is a Godzilla convention, and there were over 10,000 people at it, and that was in Chicago. And did real well, and I got we left on Sunday, and we're really glad we did, because everybody that left on Monday and afterwards, the planes got all delayed and screwed up, and the weather and the technology fail and everything. It was just incredible, but we got out, and we did real well. It's a fun show, and it keeps me relevant, and I like doing these things that are kind of, I know where my audience is.
You've been doing shows for a really long time. How long have you been doing shows for?
Me? Oh, yeah. Well, I started in 1979, maybe 1980. And I was going to small comic conventions, because they were nothing but, they were small things. And I got invited to a show up in Boston called Creation Con, and these things are now, Adam Malin he's a friend of mine, but he invited me there when he was just starting off, and now he's like doing this big Star Trek Las Vegas thing that's in a couple of weeks, and it went from there. I went to a lot of science fiction conventions. They were, that's the thing you did. It was like you went to there was a World Science Fiction Convention in September 1980 in Boston, Massachusetts. And I had never been to anything like it, and I got encouraged to go to it. I went to it, put up my art. I won Best Amateur Artist. I won, because I was amateur. I won Best Amateur Artist. I won Best in 2 divisions. It was like a peer division and a fan division. And then I sold artwork. And here's the kicker: is that I did the whole convention for $175, including the hotel, including the food, because I camped out, and I had a room with like 17 other people, well, 6 other people in it, and the art show space was small and cheap, and we had a lot of fun with just they were fun to do, and this led to BosCon, and this led to a lot of other conventions, and it was very much. This is really before the San Diego Comic-Con got big. It's really before Dragon Con. It's all these gigantia-sized conventions. This was much smaller, and the audience and the publishing community connection was a lot easier to interface with. It was criminally easy. That's you could just walk up to publishers and go to their parties, and they had booze, and they had like stuff, and you'd walk up and they say, "Oh, this is our art director," and you'd say, "Oh, hey, look, this is my artwork," like that, and they'd say like, wow, can you come to New York and show us your stuff? And then I go to New York and come away with a bunch of work. And that's how things started. And it was just, that's how those things worked out for me. And things, of course, they've changed in 40 years. It's really changed. The big giant conventions have come along, and people are doing better and more viable selling actual art and prints and selling their own brand and selling their own work than there actually is anybody that's like a publisher that's coming around saying, hey, I'd like to work with you. You know, I mean, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, I've been doing them for about 15 years now, and I've noticed a change as well. April, how long have you been doing shows?
I think actually about as long as you. I didn't
Yeah?
thought you did them longer than me because you have such an amazing setup and all the
I
products. So
No,
yeah.
I didn't start doing the shows actually. I've been doing illustration for 30 years, but I didn't actually start doing shows for until about 15 years ago.
Wow. I mean,
So,
what I see, like it's like you've been doing shows for, you know, like as long as Bob has. Like I've been doing it for 15, and I still feel like I'm figuring out, what works and what do I want to have, like what do I want to represent in my booth at my table, um, and just kind of figuring out like my look and my vibe, and it's always changing, right? Like every year you come up with a new way to show off your work or a better way, and then but it all has to be about is it lightweight, is it cost effective, and does it look good, and
Well, it's like G Fest, for instance. Some friends of mine were there, and we got there and we took everything on as hand luggage, or we put it in suitcases, and we brought it all. And now what I'm seeing going on is like my one friend of mine, my friend Matt Frank, and he's a comic artist and quite a talented guy. He's about your age, April, and I kind of mentored him early on, and he now shows up with these banners and these things, and he FedExes everything there and ships it all there. And of course, the hotel, they charge money just to collect the FedEx boxes, never mind what the FedEx is costing, and this sort of stuff. And I've seen this happening. I see it at Dragon Con, these big massive displays that take 10-15 hours to set up. And that was my hat is off to anybody that can like do that. I mean, that is, that's stamina that at this point in my life and my career I really don't have. I can set up, but I like to be done and quick and out of there as fast as I can. I'm just, it freaks me out when if I have to do constructing things or whatever, and I understand that's what's being done, but it freaks me out to do it.
there's different tips and tricks. Talk to different artists too. Like early on, I was talking to another artist, and he said if you do the photo backdrop displays, they the telescoping photo displays that are in the backdrop, and the legs, and then they go up high. If you take those and then you do like bed sheets across the back, you can hang your art with carpet hooks from them. But the trick is that those photo backdrop displays, they fit in a golf bag. In like a hard case golf bag, you could check in the airline. It doesn't count as oversized luggage. It is
Right.
oversized, but it doesn't count as oversized because it's a golf bag and it counts as sports equipment. So you
Sure.
don't get charged for oversized. So it kind of goes around the oversized luggage rules.
Yeah.
It can't be overweight, but it goes oversized. So it's a trick. There's tricks to flying with things. So you
Yeah.
can get your like oversized backdrop displays through the airport without going oversized by using the golf bag, which is kind of cool. So you got to talk to other artists about ways to like fly with
Sure.
certain things. Like if you go like something that's
Sure.
like super tall, put it in a golf bag. So
And one thing that I've experienced multiple times is the pain of putting all your stuff back into the suitcases. And so I've had to like number them, I've had to take pictures, I've had to like make sure that I remember how I pack everything. So I'm not spending 10 extra hours trying to figure out how to all fit. But I did see this one girl, I forget her name, but she had one container, she put everything in that one container, and she said that she could fly with it. And I guess that's oversized, luggage. But if you could just put everything in one container or two, because I travel with 5 suitcases now with all my stuff in it, and it is the worst jigsaw puzzle that I have to go through to fit it all back in my suitcase like perfectly so it fits. So
No,
I don't
April, you're
know.
doing it
Packing.
wrong. You don't put it back in your suitcase. You sell it all. That's the whole point. And
When
then
when
you don't have to put it back in your suitcase.
when I saw
That would be
your
great.
setup,
Yes.
your IllexCon setup, April, you did the showcase, and that's only just to kind of tell you what that is to people listening. Basically, it's 2 nights at the IllexCon convention, and the sort of the artists, some just beginning and so on. They have kind of like it's a big room, and it's only set up from Friday till like what 11 p.m. or something. It's like 7, 8 till 11 p.m. whatever it is, and so April had this incredible setup. Absolutely, it was incredible. It really was. And I'm going like, and there she was, kind of fit right back in there, plugged right back into it. And I'm going like, my God, it's like 2 nights, and it's astonishing what you did. It was a really, wow. It was probably one of the best displays in the whole room, to be honest with you. But it was really good. Maybe I'm biased, but that's okay.
Is that at the showcase or at the
Showcase? Yeah,
at the
yeah.
showcase? Yeah.
I mean, it's a pain in the backside for me just to put up my stuff on them in the main show when I get this giant long. They're hard to describe. They're these giant panels that were on there, and they've been there for other things entirely. This thing called the Goggleworks Center, and it used to be a manufacturing place, like an old factory. And these things like sort of hang off the ceilings, and they were used for something else entirely. But then they've been converted over to use for art displays, and that's what we're doing at that's what it looks like with I mean, when I have one, I got to jigsaw everything together and just figure out how things are going to work, because I am just such a Luddite. I know some guys that do, they put everything together like a map, how it's going to go, and I just kind of like think I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah.
I like to live dangerously too. Yeah, figure it out when we get there. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, what questions are we doing here? So
yeah, April, do you have some questions for us?
I do actually. So I guess since we're kind of on topic with the conventions, I can definitely segue that way into like being in person and making connections with people physically in front of them, making sales in person and not just all online. I would argue is a very valuable asset to have in your art business, and to be able to learn to approach art directors or people who you want to make connections with at the convention, like being able to walk up and pitch yourself to someone who you want to work with or a company that you're dying to work for. I guess like the question would be is, how would you go about putting yourself in front of people that you want to get hired by or from, or is there a right way to do it, a wrong way to do it? I guess like being in person and making those connections. Would you say that's important, or is it all online these days? I mean,
a lot of stuff now, and this is a shock to me because I'm like you, April. I'm a person that likes to, hi, how are you? I like to meet people. I like to say hi. I like to look in someone's face. I like to, but now they used to have these, again, let's go back to the 80s, the 90s. They used to have these sci-fi conventions, and they were, regionals, they call them. And they were, Boscone was a big one. Boscone was the best art show outside of the WorldCon. It was so good. It was Michael Whalen. Everybody was in it.
Oh, wow.
Don Mates, everybody. Yeah, that's where I first saw the White Dragon. You know his famous White Dragon painting?
Of
I
course.
went right into that,
Yes.
April, in 1979 when I was 18 years old. And I said, one day I'm going to be in this damn show, is what I said. And I was. And at that point, I'd sell artwork, and we were in this kind of an old hotel, and a heartbreaking $29 a night room rate. You know what I mean?
God.
And then I'd share it too, Echo. That's just even funnier. So I'm paying, my entire hotel bill was $29 for the weekend. And what happened is I'd make up to $1,000 in the art show. And oh my God, I did really well. Wow. But the best part was in 1983, I remember this distinct, or 84, Jim Bain, who published Bain books, he's passed away now, but he came up to me and he goes, "Hey, you're Bob Eggleton. Hey, I'm starting a new book company. I'd like to hire you for book covers." Like, that's how Jim talked. And he said, and I said, sure. And I gave my card, and we gave him slides. We didn't even have printouts or anything. We had slides. And then the next thing I got a call from his sub editor, and she said, we're buying some stuff, slide from you for a book that we're packaging, and everything took off from there. And I would go to 40 years ago, I went to the World Science Fiction Convention in Anaheim, and it was LA Con. It was called LA Con 4, 3, 4. I don't know. It was a big convention, and I had my artwork there. And again, I met people who just were editors and publishers. They all came by and they were like, "Hey, you're the ingenue. You're the new guy that like everybody's been talking about." It was 40 years ago. You're the new guy, and we want to talk with you. Would you? I'm working with Byron Price Visual Publications. Do you want to work on a book of ours called The Planets? Yes, like that, and things would take off like that. And then I'd go down to New York and I'd meet with them, and they'd say, like, we're going to bring you on. And then somebody had got a call and they'd say, hey, I got a friend over at Berkeley Books and she's in there right now. If you want to scoot on over with your portfolio, I just recommended you to go look at them. I get a job out of it. And so it was one thing led to another. And that's how it was back then. And as I attained kind of more of a status in this business, people were coming to me more than anything. And we had a real what they call the pipeline. It's where you had art directors, editors, everybody worked together, and it was very personal. You could call somebody on the phone, but now it's all email and Eponius.
Yeah, I think it's more online now, and it's more word of mouth and online. And I don't
call
know
us, we'll call you stuff. You know what I mean? And,
right. Yeah.
And I can't look at your portfolio. I had this one. This is an amazing one that a younger artist told me this one. They said, I was told I can't look at your portfolio. And I said, why? It's legal reasons. They don't want it to show anything that might show up in something else. The movie industry has become a lot that way. I fell into things. My wife was pointing out something to me that I didn't even think about. And she said, you've spent your whole life just kind of falling into things, Bob. And it was like one thing just led to another. One illustration in Spectrum, remember the annual Spectrum?
Yep.
One there, Trick got me in contact with a director named John Davis. He called me out of the blue and he said, I want you to work on my new animated feature, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. And before we even got talking about it, we're talking about, because we both love giant monsters, that kind of stuff. And then I'm thinking he's maybe a student or something. He goes, well, my guys will, my PA will be in touch with you about your budgeting and what we're going to pay you. It's a $27 million movie with Paramount Pictures and all. Oh, like that. So, and all of a sudden I was on the crew to doing this movie. And then this led to the next movie he did. And this led to another movie that he was working on that didn't get made. But I had three or four good years of working on movies. And I worked on Star Trek, the experience in Las Vegas, just by happenstance. I fell into it. And this is what happened is that I had a lot of luck. I'm not afraid to say that I had a lot of luck. Maybe a little bit of privilege. I don't know, because my parents, but I had a lot of luck, and it was a different kind of luck, wherein there were more opportunities in the sense the internet didn't really exist in the time I was coming up, and the result of that was people had to talk to you, so they had to talk to you face to face, so they had to talk to you on the phone, and there was an old school kind of art directing going on, like Ruth Ross, who was at Del Rey Books. She was old guard. I don't even know if she's alive anymore. I don't know. I hope she is. But she was an old guard, old 60s, 70s art director that had been working there for a long time. And she liked my painting style, and she gave me a lot of work. She gave me a ton of stuff to do. Greg Wilkin, for example, he worked at Rock Books. He gave me a ton of stuff to do. Then he changed the job, and he went over to work for a video company. He took me there, and I did video stuff.
So you never know where you're going to find projects from. I mean, I've gotten people that have carried my business card around for 10 years, and then all of a sudden they graduate school, and then they're like, I picked up your card 10 years ago at a convention, and I've been carrying it in my wallet for 10 years. So, it's strange. So you never know.
And how even like you know, our the new thing. And this is another real interesting thing. Is an artist came to me and he said, "How much do you do for charge for a cover?" And I gave him an idea. And he said to me, I go, what? Why is it not your publisher? Your publisher gonna? He goes, "Oh, no. The publisher doesn't want to pay for it. I'd have to pay for it."
That's weird.
That is a new one, and it was a major. It wasn't just like some rinky. It was a semi well known book company too, but they were like, "No, we're not gonna pay for a lot of we're not gonna pay for any expensive cover art or anything over X amount of dollars." And but the thing that that works for me now, it's been working for me. This is a big thing that, again, I went over some points that I would cover. Basically, it was this, that I work for a lot of little projects, and from little things come big things. And that's one of the things I've done. I just did, I just did a local cover to a free press paper called Motif Arts Paper, and it's for a convention in Providence called Necronomicon. It's all H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh yeah, I like the Necronomicon.
And the most they can pay, the most this company can pay, is $200. But you know what? For that, I did them a kind of a fun ink sketch. Somebody will buy it, and then the writer comes in and did a nice interview with me that's going to go out to thousands of people. So, I mean, it's sort of this little things turn into big things, and I tell a lot of younger artists that don't be afraid to look at little things that can become big things. I just did this.
You don't know, because I mean, like, if I had never gone to Dragon Con, I never would have known about Galaxy Press Publishing. I never would have entered that contest, and I never would have met the both of you, and I wouldn't be here. Like, it's just every little thing. Like, I think that's a really good point, Bob, is that every little decision can lead to, you never know where it's going to take you.
Yeah.
And it's even just like, I mean, yeah, we're all trying to survive, of course, but if you think beyond the money and just think about, well, how could this lead into the next thing? Just
exactly. You got to think beyond the money sometimes, because the money, you do it. And I know this is a hard one for a lot of people listening to maybe swallow. And they'll say to me, "Oh, it's easy for you to say, Bob, whatever." But do what you love and the money will come. I really believe that, because it is just something that we live in a strange time, though, where back in the day when I was doing book covers stuff, presentation was everything. We would look at, like, say, something like a nice book. Say, for example, one of your beautiful dragons, April, was on the cover of a book, that red one, the one I'm in love with, the one that I can't. And I thinking to myself, with that on a book cover, whatever, immediately I would go to that and say, what a magnificent presentation for that book. And notice the word I use, presentation. Now, people, they're not interested in the presentation as much. They're more interested in just it's content, and a content. They don't even they want something online that doesn't even have a cover. It doesn't even have anything. It's just the content. And that's what's really changed. That is what's really, really changed. And that from my times. And there was a time people would look at book artwork. You go into the art show, and you say, "My God, look at that Michael Whalen painting." Like that. And you just go back and look at it, and you're just in love with it and all that stuff. And then now it's kind of like, well, I saw stuff online and it's kind of similar. It's, people did not. We're in the age of it's harder to impress people. I think that's what it is.
So let me ask you this now, and you've said multiple times that your art just holds up for itself. So people are going to come to you and say, "Bob, I need you." But say I'm reaching out to whoever I need to reach out to for a job. If it's the art director, I think it's the art director you need to reach out to if you want like a job, or you want to send out a cold email. Like, how would you present that email in a way that is attractive and not, like something that's professional, attractive, like a nice presentation, like great work?
First and foremost, April, the thing is getting the art director's name. Because those things aren't always listed anymore. Those things aren't listed. I've been trying to pimp myself to a certain video company that I will remain nameless, but they do beautiful art style video DVDs, and you can name them, but you know who they are. And I'm trying to find whoever is involved with this art direction side of it, and God, they'll be damned if I can. And it's like, in one time, I sent my stuff to IDW Comics. This is a while ago, because a long time ago, I had a name. I got a name, and I had an email, and I said, all right. And I say, hi, I'm Bob Eggleton. I'm really well known for doing these kind of things it was for Godzilla. I said, I'm really well known in the Godzilla community. And I said, I'd like to submit some work to you for do some comic cover artwork. And then what I got back, what the guy back was Chris Ryall. That's his name, Chris Ryall. A very nice letter. He's great. And he wrote back and he says, wow, Bob, these are awesome. And he says, you're Bob Eggleton. You're the guy we've been talking about a little bit. And he goes, now you come to me. He says, be aware we don't normally look at things unsolicited like this. You'll see that. That's the new thing, April. The people come along saying we don't look at unsolicited work. And meaning, i.e., out of the blue, where you just contact them. That's what's really changed.
Yeah.
And it's
now it boils down to who you know.
Yeah.
So would websites like LinkedIn be really valuable to start figuring out?
Yeah,
to reach out to people in that way.
LinkedIn is a good one. Instagram, I have to have Instagram. I use Facebook. Instagram, here's a good example. Out of the blue, this happened last November. It happened during IllexCon. Remember when we first met? I got an Instagram message from an art director at Mondo and Funko Pop. I nearly fell over, and he basically said, we're doing this Godzilla thing, and we'd like you to do something on it because you're known for that. We love your work and all that stuff. And so I did these two big things. They're being introduced at San Diego Comic-Con. You'll see them if you go down there. Go to the Mondo booth. You'll see them. They even made a Funko Pop Bob color of my colorway of a Godzilla, and they were going to surprise me with it. But now what has happened is these things are such a hit. They were an explosion. Like everybody's going, oh my God, these are beautiful. Oh my God, it got on comicbook.com and all this stuff. So people are lining up to get these things, which is already, the art director's already said to me, hey, dude, we'll be in touch on your next project. After that, we'll talk. And then on top of that, it gets better. I got a letter out of the blue from another guy at another company that makes these, like, that you've seen them, the posters, movie posters, that kind of thing. And they take a movie property and they do a real artsy poster to it.
Yeah. That's not Mondo? Is that a different?
There's several companies that do it. And this one company's on the East Coast. He just wrote me out of the blue and he said, what would you like to do with us? What would you like to do for us? So he gave me his list of 200 franchises that he owns.
Wow.
And he said that he gets the licensing. And he says, take your pick, have fun, take your pick. What do you want to do? Like that. So it's kind of like a blank check. And I said, you saw my stuff on Mondo. He says, oh, you bet your sweet Bippy we did. He said, you're the hot guy. So he said, I want to get you on board with us too. And so I got this developing. And then other things. Don't be afraid. Like I'm doing something with Edgar Rice Burroughs people, only because I've done something with them for the last 10 years or so. And they don't pay lots of money. This particular illustration I'm doing for Edgar Rice Burroughs doesn't pay a lot of money, but a lot of really great people see it because it's a limited edition, beautiful, appointed book with a clamshell, and it's just this beautiful, beautiful book they make. And so I get very excited on that. So these are kind of things, and they all add up. It all adds up.
So when people see your work, then they're more likely to hire you. They don't know what you got paid for it or what you didn't get paid for.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. So it's nothing. It all adds.
In advertising, it takes a consumer an average of 5 times seeing a product to buy it. You have to see like a Coke commercial 5 times to be like, oh, I want to buy Coke now. Same thing when seeing like Bob's work. You want to, the art director sees your work like 5 times. They're like, I'm going to hire this Bob guy. So like the more projects you do, the more they see your work, the more they're like, oh, this guy's hot. I want to hire him for some work. And they don't know what you got paid for it or didn't get paid for it. So you just keep doing work.
Right.
And you're going to get hired. So basically that's what it comes down to.
I forgot about that number. 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot about that number. That's such an important number. Because,
Yeah.
in the world of social media, it's like, well, I don't want to be too intrusive, but at the same time, like, you know, like I've heard even from some other artists that have had like older work that they've had like they did years ago, and they started reposting their older work, and they got all these like reactions and likes like it was the first time they posted. People are like, wow, when did you do this? And they're like, about 6 years ago.
Right.
So you
No,
just never
I had
know
a
who's going to see it.
situation the minute the Mondo posters broke as a public thing and we could share them. Like I had a Facebook friend request from guess what, the art director at Super 7, which they do other things too. They do all kinds of properties, Star Wars, Godzilla, all this kind of stuff. And it's just I'm thinking coincidence or no, I think it's they're looking at what I'm doing, and I'm very one thing can lead to another, and you might think to yourself, well, maybe it won't lead to it won't go where it needs to go, or but the reality is that good work will shine out. Good work will shine out, and now here's the other nice good thing. A lot of comic companies, Dark Horse Comics, for instance, just released a statement. IDW did too. They are not there. They do human content. They are anything AI is no.
Oh, thank goodness.
Good
Yeah,
for
they're
them.
releasing statements. There's a big backlash against it because it's not just stolen. It just looks wonky. It looks weird, and you look at it and you go, I can spot it like that, no matter how well it's done. I can say, well, this is about it, this aspect about it, and this aspect, and look at the way this is done, and the hand goes this way. And no,
Yeah.
this is
Six
this is
figures.
the. It doesn't take if you have a good eye for it and you have some talent, you'll spot it.
Doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right exactly, but we're in a society now, Echo, and where we're in a society of it'll do. And that's kind of what I was reaching at before. We've gone from a society, we got from a thing where like a major author comes out with a book and they make a big deal out of the cover art. It'd be a Michael Whalen cover and it would be this big party and they promote it and they get it out there. But now it's kind of like, well, we got this book, get it out there. It'll do. You know what I mean? They're looking at very their bottom line is what the big thing is, and it's all like profit and productivity over creativity and presentation, which yeah, if you see, you know what I'm saying,
It takes a lot to impress
Yeah.
people, and that's challenging and hard because you don't have as much time to spend on pieces anymore to create stuff that impresses people. You have to
right,
create so much more art so fast.
exactly. I'm doing a vampire cover thing that you can see the sketch kind of up. That's the canvas up on my board there. You're looking at 4 paintings, by the way, and one of them it's a vampire thing that I'm doing now. Not a lot of money, but oh my God, I was apprised too much today at what the following of this particular person and author is, and I said, okay, yeah, I'm on board. Yeah, no worries, I'm on board because it's all. It gets me into a whole other type of fandom. It gets me into a whole other direction, and I'm not afraid to do those things. If you don't get stuck in a rote, don't get stuck in a rote. And I think April's case, you certainly aren't. You can do so many different things, and that's why your artwork's so outstanding. I was like, I could walk in and say, wow. I can spot yours in the colors, the way you work. I can spot it in a second. I could just say that's an April Solomon.
I appreciate that.
So
I
do you have
am
another
trying to
question?
branch out dragons a little bit, but not too much. I want to, I want to get hired for the work that I want to do. So, I'm only going to do the work that I want to get hired for. And, I don't want to do drawings of cars or spaceships,
Yeah.
like I'll leave that up to someone more qualified, like you or, I mean, I don't even know any artists that are out there.
I
You know
hate
what I mean.
drawing
I
cars.
appreciate it. It is so not fun. It is such a boring task, and I know it's boxes and cylinders, but there are artists that do really good job. But yeah, but I would not put that in my portfolio because I don't want to get hired for that work because I don't want to do it.
Yeah, well, I get the problem is I get people telling me, oh, Bob, I know you're doing these dragons and I know you're doing these Godzillas and stuff. And you should do more spaceships. And I'm going like, well, yeah, but I like
I
doing,
want to drive spaceships.
you know,
I
it's like I
wanna.
got one guy on Facebook tells me that all the time. He said, "You need to, oh man, I miss your space." I said, "I'm still doing them. I still doing them. You know, it's just not all the time. You know, yeah."
I
So,
guess
but
another like question I would have
true,
is because I know that if you want to get hired by a company for specific work, I know that one of the things to do is to make the work that you want to get hired for, and then you send that out, or you post it, you share it, you kind of just let them know like, hey, I can do this work, and I'm here to be hired for this work. So look, I can do it. Does this work for you too? I mean, does that sound like you two are both so established, but would you offer advice to someone starting out? Like, if you want to get seen by a certain company or a certain person, would you advise them to do the work that they want to get hired for, or not so much?
I would say, you know, if you want to if you want to go for certain things, let's say you want to do dragons, for example, that's what you do. That's what you go. You go out and just do your make that work. You know what I mean? Make that work. I got a situation 30 years ago. I got tired of doing spaceships, and I said to this art director, Judy Morello, I said, I'm really tired of doing spaceships. Can I do a dragon for you? She goes, sure. So she goes, I got a book by Gardner Dozois. It's called Dragons, and it's a collection of dragon stories because you could sell books like that as an ace book. She goes, I get X amount of dollars. Can you do me a nice dragon? So I did a nice dragon, and it's a little bit rudimentary in my compared to what I do now. But God, that was my first step to getting like more dragon work, and so you know, and I like all of it. I like all that stuff. You know, I mean, all that kind of stuff because it makes me a well-rounded.
I suggest to artists, I suggest my students early on to get a mailing list, like at your booth and everything. Make sure you get a mailing list of fans that come to your booth, so that when you decide you want to do something, like you're like, hey, I want to do a book on fantasy cats, like wearing hats, playing instruments, and this is what I want to do for myself. And you decide you wanted to do that, and you can send out an email list, and you could do a Kickstarter of like this project that you wanted to do, and you can get it funded, but you need to have that mailing list ready so that
Right.
you can get that project funded, and then you can actually get paid to do that dream project. And now you have a funded project that you can pay yourself to have the time to develop, to create the way you want to do it. And then once that's done and you have people paying you to do it, you have the time to do it. And then it's going to come out amazing. And then once it's amazing, people will be like, wow, that's amazing, and pay you to do that style. And that's the best outcome. So it's going to look amazing. And then publishers are going to go, hey, that's amazing. I want to hire you to do that. Do you do dogs? And then, then you have, you're doing suddenly what you want to
Yeah.
do. So get a mailing list early on so that you can hopefully do a
Yeah.
Kickstarter to be able to get people to pay you to spend the time to do it.
Right.
I
Exactly.
remember back in the day when my dad was still painting watercolors. My mom and my dad would go through his mailing list, and they would write out by hand all the names, all the addresses on envelopes, and they would hand lick every stamp, and they put in
Oh,
an invite for come out to the show,
Sure.
come out to the Solomon home this December, and I remember they made stacks and stacks of
Right.
these letters, and the show would go on for like a weekend, and people come by the house and look at the artwork, and it's like a Christmas time like solo show. But I remember that my dad was always updating his mailing list, and today now we have MailChimp, or like keep it all in one place, or a couple of places if you can. But
Sure.
yeah, mailing lists, like all like since the Sawdust Festival, like every time I write that ticket, I ask, can I take down your email, and would you like to be notified of any shows? And they go, oh yeah, of course, because they're already buying my art, so I'm assuming they want to know what else I'll be doing later. So and all in the beginning, I'll be honest, in the beginning it was very hard for me to ask such a simple question: can I please have your email and notify you of any upcoming shows? That was really hard to do. And now
start doing it right away, right at the beginning. It's so important. I mean, that's so important to get from the beginning, because when you want to do
mailing list,
stuff,
super important.
Yeah.
that's so important.
Yeah. So yeah,
Would you say it's one of the most important things that you have as an artist is your mailing list?
Oh yeah,
I actually don't. I
definitely.
don't have a list, to be honest with you.
Really, Bob?
I don't. I am so disorganized. It's like that. You know, I want to fly April out here and organize my stuff. I mean, my stuff. It's like I set her to work, shut the door, and like she'll go like a tornado, clean right up here.
all of your tax deductions. We were talking about tax deductions before.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
tax deductions. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, we were having a discussion about you were talking about how I don't remember how the discussion came up. You were talking about how some young artists that you were talking to don't write anything off anymore, and that also is so important.
Yeah, it is. It's important. Research and reference is a big one for me. Let me show you this so you can see them right here. This is all just some of my books over there.
All right, for those of you listening on the radio, the YouTube pans to an incredibly busy, crazy,
And I get
full
a T-Rex head on the
studio.
wall.
There's a T-Rex head mounted on the wall of his studio.
And that's the floor.
Oh my goodness, you have a lot of stuff in your studio.
Exactly.
Wow.
Stuff in my whole place.
Artists tend to accrue a lot of things for reference because we need to draw things from lots and lots of different angles. So.
Yeah, I mean, all of this stuff, like you can get like a really beautiful little woolly mammoth figure that I have here, and
cute.
Well, hell, I'm doing a woolly mammoth on a painting back there. You know, it's just like so. Therefore,
we need a woolly mammoth.
That's all part of it, and a lot of people don't. I mean, there was a big mistake that a lot of people make. They go, oh, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that. I'm going like, well, yes, you actually can. They you know they have made a lot of people make these. There's an awful lot of people I'm meeting, and April's not one of them, but a lot of young people I'm meeting who they give up too easily. They give up. They just say, "What were we talking about? This AI stuff, fine. I give up." Like that. Somebody was saying that on one of the, and I'm going like, "Well, no, that's not the attitude." You know, I mean,
yeah,
that's starting off with a lot of cynicism and a lot of negativity out there right now, and it's just, it's for me personally, it's very vexing. It's very vexing to hear it because I like hearing good stories. I like hearing, good stuff happening for people.
It's not always easy to be an artist. You can give up for a minute or two, but then you have to kind of get back on the horse. You could be for a minute. You're just, you can get a little overwhelmed, but you don't give up. You just be like, all right, well, let's just tackle this from another angle now.
Sure.
Because that's how you do any drawing, because or anything in arts. So, because. Yeah, I mean, when you have a drawing that's going bad, you don't give up. You just kind of go, oh, this is going bad. And then you just go, okay, how do I just do this from another angle? And you just start over again, or you just change it, or a different angle, or,
Cool.
Or
don't give up.
Vent about it to a friend, or your boyfriend, or your girlfriend. Go for a walk, lift some weights, eat some cookies, cry, take a step back, and then get back at it.
And then get back at it. Yeah, get back on that woolly mammoth. So hey, I saw on my feed, it popped up that apparently they've made a mammoth meatball. Did you see that? I guess they've made an actual mammoth meatball. I'm like, ooh, nobody's tried it yet, but ooh, that sounds kind of gross.
I just found they have coffee made from cat poop somewhere.
Ooh, that sounds great. Ooh, but yeah, but yeah, you have to. Artists can write off an awful lot of things as reference materials. You can write off all your art prints you buy. You can write off all of the books, all of anything you buy for reference materials, movies, museums. If you go to museums, and really, it's expensive enough nowadays that you really need to be writing all of this stuff off. means you need to keep all the receipts, which means you need to get a proper accountant. You really do.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of changing mine because my old one of 37 years who got me, who understood me, he's retired or retiring. So he's kind of fobbed me off onto this other guy. And we met with him the other week, and it was I didn't really need it at that time in my life because I was getting ready for G Fest. And then I've been convinced he doesn't get me. He doesn't really understand, like, so I don't know. I'm searching, as it were. But we're working all right. We're doing okay,
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that you need to get an accountant that understands artists, and there's, and you need to get someone that understands, all the things that you need to write off as an artist. There's a lot of different rules, and yeah, so it's really important. I remember the very first year I did my own taxes, and then I had someone look at my taxes, and they fixed them all, and I got a bunch of money back. And ever since then, I actually work with an accountant because
the trouble I had this one particular guy sort of starts up saying like, oh well, he said like I said, well, what is your average on this? And I'm telling him, and I said, well, 1 month I might make this, but next month I might make this. It just and you averages it out, and I don't know. A lot of me going, there's so many undeterminable factors, and he was just kind of like going, well, so how do you justify and quantify? Oh God, no, this is not, so we'll see. Yeah, I know. It came in a week when I just didn't need it. It was like, I think I told you that, April. I just didn't need it. It was like every G Fest, and you imagine yourself getting ready for a big thing like Dragon Con or Gen Con, you guys, and then suddenly like, I need to meet with you on such, and you're sitting there like thinking, I got better things I could be doing right now. Like that. I've got too many adult things I've been doing lately. That's my big complaint in life right now. Too many what I call adult things.
This is why it's important to talk to other artists, so you can vet these things out. And
yeah, I had to go to an orthopedic doctor for my knee, and he's telling me my knee is a disaster zone, and I need a new knee. I'll need a new knee soon. And I'm going, oh well, geez, when will I get the time to do that? And it's you may have noticed that when I was in Hollywood with you guys, I had a little bit of a limp. You know what I mean? And that's because they this is funny, when I had to walk out of the stage, somebody one of the person organizing the show, she goes, do you think you could not limp? And I'm going, my leg is a little weird, okay, so I'll talk to it, okay.
Yeah.
I'll negotiate with my knee. I'll see what we can do.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, the meniscus is shot in my knee, and it's been done by 1975. I had an accident in 1975, and from then on, it just disintegrated over decades. And so I probably need a new knee. But
maybe you should get a tail, like a wyvern or something instead.
Oh well, it's going to be a 6 to 8 week recuperation time, and I get things I gotta do and places to go. I don't have time.
You gotta work that around show season. How do you gotta work surgeries around show seasons? You can't just, take. Yeah. You gotta go to shows and things. So, all right. Anyway, we got like a minute left.
Great.
So, you guys have anything else you want to bring up?
I got a few things, but oh my God.
Okay. Fast, April.
Go on, April. Elevator pitch. Go.
So. I know that you said that most art directors don't like to be reached out to, but I suppose that cold emails are not entirely off the table. And
no, they're not entirely. You got to get an address. That's the big thing. That's the hardest part I found, is getting the damn address of somebody to write, because they don't hide. And then you have, like, you might get something back saying, or somebody saying, director of marketing and art in parentheses. That's the way it's going. Everybody thinks they can do art directing, just because they think they can.
Oh, I would always send cold emails. I would, worst case scenario, nobody responds to you. I mean, so what?
Yeah.
I always ask. I'm always sending things because, so you never hear back. You never hear back. I mean, so what? Always ask, It's
right. If you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. So,
just shoot an email off.
Yeah. And I'll have more questions for you guys later. But
Okay.
Do you
Oh,
do
yeah.
you guys have any questions, or like, I guess, like, you think about what are things that you wanted to know about that you know now? What would you share to someone that's been coming about? How would you go about getting yourself out there?
I would say just you're doing what you're doing, what you're already doing. You're going to a lot of conventions. And that's kind of I've been noticing more and more that is really the new way of getting a lot of notice on things, going out to a lot of these conventions and stuff, and it's really expanded. It's no longer like the World Science Fiction Convention anymore. It's these Comic Cons and these much bigger events that the publishers, if there are, they're still going to them. They go to those now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I would say, I mean, look at Dragon Con. That's a big thing. San Diego Comic Con, Tor Books, for instance, is going to have a booth there. They don't do that at any other
Musterpalooza. Musterpalooza.
Yes, dear. I'm coming. Yes, dear. I'm coming.
Yay!
Yes. And probably before
I connected
find an
Bob with the
expedition,
guy that's in
come
charge of
out to
Musterpalooza.
Laguna Beach and see you. Both of us will.
Yes, go to conventions, go to shows, go to things. Just keep participating in things, sending your art out there. Go online. Just remember not to get discouraged, because it's really easy nowadays to get
Sure.
discouraged.
Yeah.
You go online and you see all this stuff, and you see all the AI, and you see all the other art. You're seeing everything
Right.
flying at you, and it is
Sure.
so easy to feel like you're
Sure.
getting buried and to get discouraged. And
Sure.
don't get discouraged. Just keep, talking to other artists and lift other artists up, and just and just,
Exactly.
if you
Absolutely.
see
Lift
other
other
artists
art
you
up.
like, just stop by other artists and just compliment other people's art. Like, if you see something you
Yeah.
like, just take a second to go by and go be like, I really like your art, just because that
Yeah.
means a lot to
Everybody
other artists.
in the world could use a compliment. I'm serious, because we all can, rather than criticism or rather than somebody tearing you down. And I've had to veer off from that in a big way, the toxicity, and there's enough of it out there. Believe me, there's enough of it out there. So I've always lift people up.
Yeah, so take a second, stop by people's art in booths, just to say, hey, I really like it, even if you're not going to buy anything or can't buy anything, and or take their card, join their Instagram, that's free, like their page, and believe it or not, it is actually okay to tip artists in Artist Alley, because some artists put out tip things, and you could be like, I can't buy anything right now, but can I give you $1? I've had people do that in Artist Alley, and that's totally okay. So just to let people know that. So that's totally okay too. So, because I've had people do that in Artist Alley, and people just get the littlest thrill over that. So, but just to like them on Instagram, or like I
Sure.
said, just say you like their art. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to The Professional Artist live on the United Public Radio Network, 1077 in New Orleans. And we'll see you next week. And go see April down at the Sawdust Festival. What's your booth number?
My booth number is 111.
111. And
Yeah.
Bob, where are you next week?
I'm going to be at Shore Leave, the Star Trek convention in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or Lancaster, as people say.
Lancaster.
Yeah.
And April and I are both going to be at Dragon Con in a few weeks, and at Gen Con in a few weeks.
Gen Con, yeah.
So, yay!
Anyway.
So, all right. Well, have a good weekend, everyone, and keep making
all that
art.
Stuff.
Bye.
Bye.